Hi. In these videos, I'm trying to communicate things that interest me in threads of thought that I bundle these threads together in my mind and I kind of weave them together. But if I don't communicate that properly, I just sound like a nutcase. If I do it wrong, I sound like a knob and nobody will watch me. So it's difficult to be neither a nutcase or a knob, or to come across that way. So there is the third path, which is to be funny. But visual and audio is a brilliant communication method where I can show, I can demonstrate, I can tell, and we can have a laugh, we can connect, and I get to get my jollies, I get to feel good, I feel like I've got something out of my system, and in the process maybe inform and educate and have a good time. I was watching a fascinating video about a cave in Spain. This cave here. And they were digging a train path through a mountain, and then they came across like a washed in cave. And the stuff that they noticed, it was like layers of sediment. What they found in it was a bunch of the crudest stone implements, the crudest tools. What they found was children's skeletons. So the children skeletons that they found had been lumped in with prey. And the conclusion that the archaeologists came to was that behaved like a pack of roving baboons who would terrorise and pick off a prey of a rival, a supposedly rival group. So they're just like perpetual hunters and dominators with no art, no language. And they'd butchered these children with the same precision and practicality by the evidence, the cut marks, everything, and the marrow was extracted for the bones. The kids, they were completely butchered. But we got a time capsule into a behaviour. But these guys weren't us. That's the big thing. They were a sister species that broke off around about the time of the Neanderthals. And these guys were called the homo antecessors. And like the only assumption can be that they were a roving party, absolute predators that travelled around, and they would use the cave intermittently, and when they came across a rival faction, or just any faction, anything, they'd just kill it, butcher it, without feeling, without any ability to put themselves into the mind of the prey. No conscience, no guilt, just pure primal consequence that they would never be able to comprehend, but because it's just an evolution driven domination and survival behaviour. They had no reason. They had no reason to develop. They lived in a lush, fertile valley where there was no shortage of like animal game and plant fauna, but they had no reason to change the behaviour. And a ripple effect or a consequence of this is the terror that it would inflict on the victim group in that relatively isolated area. That these homo antecessor types were doing it to each other. Like they probably would have came across maybe other types of pre-human, but the just in that area that was the prey, because it was a small world to them. You know, just territorial, maybe a territorial valley, and not even a solid territory, or kind of roving territory. And yeah, it made me think a lot of behaviour and the drives. The drives are something primal in us. Because 850,000 years ago we had the homo antecessors, but we found the same behaviour in Neanderthals 45,000 years ago across Europe, everywhere. It's the same behaviour. It's It's roving packs, picking off victims or prey, of the weak members of a different family pack. Yeah. And then they found that behaviour even more recently in a cave in England. So that was done by us. This version of us. By the sapiens. And they found skull cups, bones, and evidence of cannibalism. So these drives are primal. And then, of course, if you want to bring it to Scotland, there's the legend of Sonny Bean. Sonny Bean, and he's pack of feral humans that lived in partially tidal caves off the coast of Scotland in complete isolation, and they would come roving in, and he raised a sort of family pack, and then they would come roving in and butcher and steal, and they did this with like modern function. But something switched off. Something switched off the modern function. And the legend has it the clan was executed. I think allegedly the men were just hung without trial. Like, it was such an obscene crime that they didn't even give them a trial. It was just like instant justice. So these guys had language. This historical evidence, these guys are behaving just like normal people, of the homos lineage. So they regressed. It was a regression. You can imagine they wouldn't have much to do with art. They've got no moral code, isolated. They're not teaching their children. It's like a degenerative thing, and I've came across family behaviours like that. We call it clanning. A family will clan up. For what I could gather about the Sonny Bean story, and then the organism just accidented upon it couldn't adapt to modern living, so the Sonny Bean reverted back to a primal state. And I was wondering maybe if were consciences are optional, or maybe it was like an IQ regression as well. Maybe it was a willful unwillingness to the ultimate rebel, an unwillingness to play by modern rules. Like, I don't like horses, I don't like farming, I'm not gonna work. And then they just find a better way. And like you see that with like families that steal together and defraud together and stuff like that. Like it's they've just found a survival strategy. And then we forget how modern living is. To the ancient Babylonians, and there's evidence of them, and so they would have been dealing with packs of people and the surrounding areas that cannot or will not evolve. They have a way of living, and it's fine. If you're in a city but you're in a mountainous region, and you get bands of these crazy bastards coming in, just terrorising you, doing terror tactics. It's a battle. It's a battle between modernism, modern moral codes, adhering to societal rules that are bigger than family and the clan, of national ambitions. Is war more horrific or less horrific than two bands of homo antecessors coming across each other, and a 10-year-old gets clubbed in the head, dragged away and butchered for meat? Like, the effect of that is like terror is inflicted. Made me think about evolution of higher thinking, the way religions were initially created as a mechanism to bind a society at a level that's larger than a family level. It made me think about modern political theory So we talked a bit about the Scottish politicians, what Keir Starmer is, what John Swinney is, what Gillian Mackay of the Greens is, and what they believe. And what they believe is we're all the same, and that men are women, and that we all function at this higher level, that we're all capable of functioning at this higher level. Now these guys we've allowed to invade our country. We've let them in, right? They're in, and they're unable to adapt because we've also taken away the system. We've taken away the jobs. So we've just fucking let them in. We don't have jobs for the white guys, let alone the new guys, and we don't have the revenue to pay for our own poor, let alone the new guys. And we're just assuming that these guys are gonna adapt. And all the evidence so far is no, they've came in and they've went on a raping spree. So there's like 1 million truant teenage girls have been predated and raped. What's that? Just a small mistake? Is that just a slight oversight? Or is that fundamental? A type of person comes here and comes to a culture that's in decline, that can't offer the things that they want, and they find it's a shithole. But these guys are young and they're uppity and they like young white women. So we gave them the young white women, didn't we? We just let them have them and we hid it. The Scottish police hid it. The Met police hid it. Manchester police hid it. The people that were there to protect them called them packy shaggers. Like these children were choosing to be predated by this population that we let in. Isn't that horrible? And that's willful blindness. That's obfuscation to the point of rape. Literal rape. By our definition of the word. But then we had to change the justice system, didn't we? We'd have to have two-tier justice system. We'd have to have the police turn a blind eye to certain things because it's inconvenient. So that's what's wrong with this type of thinking, and that's why I use harsh language. Oh, don't forget, it couldn't have happened without the help of the mainstream media ignoring and gaslighting and obfuscating and doing every dirty trick in the book. And I'll call them fat and I'll call them retards because what they stand for is rape. It's the belief in a faulty ideal that denies reality, and it forces you and it forces the police to deny reality, and it lies to you and it says everything's fine and this is normal. And then if you notice, you feel isolated and crazy. And if you get angry, then that's hate. This is what their way of thinking forces, allowing the rape of a country, the decimation of a country for the sake of a faulty, stupid belief system that thinks we're all equal. And this is the Karen. And the Karen is just behaving in a way that made it survive. But it's corrupted the good system. You know, these guys shouldn't be in power. They shouldn't be making decisions. They should be at home looking after their mothers, because that's why they're genetically here, and that's why they are what they are. Gillian Mackay should be at home looking after her mother. That's what she was born to do. John Swinney should be at home looking after his mother and being a creep on the internet. That's his job. No leading a country. And Keir Starmer, have you ever seen such a pathetic heap in your life? The weakest, most mentally polluted leaders that we could possibly have in charge is what we have in charge. And they've allowed this, the rape of a nation. The two-tier justice system, the persecution of speech, all in the name of equality and diversity. I can't really look at politics without getting either an extreme emotion, which is angry or sad, at the state of the mental competency of the people in charge, and the state of their reality, how faulty their reality is, how at odds it is against mine. So one of us lives in reality. Now, by all evidence, it's me, but I'm biased. I'm bound to think that. Oh, there you go.